She thought it was just one dance, one harmless question asked to the wrong man in a room full of powerful people. She didn't know the moment her fingers brushed his, men with guns were already moving. She didn't know the quiet man she was holding had never let anyone touch him before, and that breaking that rule came with consequences no apology could fix. By the time the music stopped, she was surrounded. By the time the night ended, she was given a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. 7 days. Stay close to him, calm him, protect him in public, or disappear forever. But here's what no one warned her about. The man they called fragile would fight like a monster when she was threatened. The man they tried to control would bleed for her, and the people who wanted to scare her away were willing to destroy her life, frame her, and put her in a cage just to break him. She would be hunted. He would be shot. And the most dangerous man in the city would have to decide whether love was worth burning his entire empire to the ground. Because once the bullets start flying and the truth comes out, who do you sacrifice when saving one life means losing everything else? If you love emotional, cinematic stories like this, please like and subscribe. It truly helps more than you know. And let's make this a community. Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from. City, state, or country. I read the comments, and I love seeing how far these stories travel. All right, let's begin. The champagne glass gave the ground a violent shattering, but Nia didn't flinch. She had seen worse things during her 12-hour shifts at Metropolitan General Hospital. What made her pause was the man standing alone in the corner of the ballroom, surrounded by people yet completely isolated. His dark eyes followed the crowd with a mixture of confusion and exhaustion that Nia recognized instantly. She had worn that same expression during her first weeks in New York City, fresh from Nairobi, with nothing but her nursing degree and a suitcase full of hope. The charity gala was the last place Nia wanted to be on a Friday night. Her friend Blessing had practically dragged her here, insisting that Nia needed to do something besides work and sleep. The grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria sparkled with crystal chandeliers and expensive perfume. Women in designer gowns laughed too loudly, while men in tailored suits discussed business deals over imported wine. Nia felt out of place in her simple black dress from a discount store, but she had promised Blessing she would try to enjoy herself. The man in the corner caught her attention again. He was tall and handsome, with perfectly styled black hair and a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. But something about the way he stood, with his hands clenched at his sides and his shoulders tense, told Nia he was struggling. She watched as a woman approached him, reaching out to touch his arm. He jerked away so quickly that the woman stumbled backward, her face twisting with offense before she stormed off. Blessing appeared at Nia's elbow, following her gaze. "That's Jun Seo. Don't even think about it." "Why not?" Nia asked, genuinely curious. "Because his father is Seung-min, the Seung-min." Blessing's voice dropped to a whisper. "Korean Mafia. Everyone knows it, but no one can prove it. They own half the businesses in this city and not the legal kind. Jun Seo might look harmless, but his father has people who make problems disappear." Nia should have walked away. She should have listened to the warning in Blessing's voice and enjoyed her champagne like a sensible person. Instead, she found herself moving across the ballroom, weaving between dancing couples and groups of gossiping socialites. Something about Jun Seo reminded her of her younger brother back home, who struggled in crowds and needed patience from the people around him. "Hello," Nia said softly when she reached him. She made sure to stand a comfortable distance away, not crowding his space. "My name is Nia. Would you like to dance with me?" Jun Seo's eyes widened. Up close, Nia could see they were a warm brown color, intelligent despite the anxiety swimming in them. He stared at her for a long moment, his mouth opening and closing without sound. Around them, conversations began to die down as people noticed what was happening. "You don't have to if you don't want to," Nia added quickly. "I just thought you might like some company, but only if you're comfortable." "Yes," Jun Seo said finally. His voice was deeper than Nia expected and surprisingly steady. "I would like that." The ballroom went completely silent. Nia could feel dozens of eyes on her back as she extended her hand, palm up, giving Jun Seo the choice to take it or not. He looked at her hand for several heartbeats before slowly, carefully, placing his palm against hers. His skin was warm, and she felt a slight tremor run through his fingers. They moved to the dance floor together. Nia kept her movements slow and predictable, following the gentle rhythm of the orchestra. Jun Seo was stiff at first, his body rigid with tension. But as they swayed together, she felt him gradually relax. He didn't look at her face, instead focusing on a point over her shoulder, but his grip on her hand became more confident. "The music is too loud," Jun Seo said quietly, "but this is nice. You smell like coconut oil and something clean. Antiseptic, maybe. Are you a nurse?" Nia smiled. "Yes, I am. How did you know? You have steady hands, and you approached me differently than other people do, like you were assessing a patient." He finally met her eyes. "Most people either ignore me or treat me like I'm made of glass. You did neither." Before Nia could respond, the music stopped abruptly. The conductor looked terrified, his baton frozen in midair. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, and 3 large men in black suits walked onto the dance floor. Behind them came a man who could only be Seung-min. He was shorter than his son, but carried himself with an authority that made him seem 10 feet tall. His hair was streaked with gray, and his face was carved from stone. Everything about him screamed danger, from his cold eyes to the way his men flanked him like wolves protecting their pack leader. Nia felt her heart start to race, but she kept her expression calm. She had dealt with angry patients and their families before. She could handle this. "Step away from my son," Seung-min said. His English was perfect, with barely a trace of an accent. "Now." Nia looked at Jun Seo, whose face had gone pale. She gave his hand a gentle squeeze before releasing it and taking a step back. "I'm sorry if I caused any trouble. I only wanted to dance." "No one touches Jun Seo without my permission," Seung-min continued. His voice was soft, which somehow made it more terrifying. "Who are you? What do you want?" "I want nothing," Nia said, lifting her chin. "Your son looked lonely. I thought he might enjoy a dance. That's all." Seung-min studied her for a long moment. Nia refused to look away, even though every instinct screamed at her to run. Around them, the crowd watched with a mixture of fear and fascination. This was clearly not how charity galas usually went. "Father," Jun Seo said suddenly. Everyone's attention snapped to him. "She made me feel calm. The noise didn't bother me as much when we were dancing. Please don't hurt her." Something flickered across Seung-min's face, too quick for Nia to identify. He gestured to his men, who immediately grabbed Nia's arms. She didn't struggle, knowing it would be pointless. They escorted her through the ballroom and down a hallway to a private room. Seung-min and Jun Seo followed, with Jun Seo looking increasingly distressed. The private room was elegantly furnished with leather chairs and oil paintings on the walls. Seung-min dismissed his guards with a wave of his hand, leaving just the 4 of them. He poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter and took a long sip before turning to face Nia. "My son doesn't let people touch him," Seung-min said. "He has autism, high functioning, but he struggles with physical contact in social situations. Yet you walked up to him and asked for a dance, and he said yes. That has never happened before." Nia glanced at Jun Seo, who stood near the window, his hands fluttering nervously at his sides. "I work with many patients who have different needs. I learn to approach people gently and respect their boundaries." "And what do you want in return for your gentle approach?" Seung-min's eyes narrowed. "Money? Connections? Everyone wants something." "I want to go home and sleep for 12 hours, Nia said honestly. "I worked a double shift yesterday, and I have another one starting tomorrow afternoon. I came here because my friend insisted, not because I'm looking for anything from anyone." Seung-min studied her, again, and Nia had the uncomfortable feeling he could see right through her. Finally, he nodded slowly. "I have a proposal. Junseo needs to attend social events for business purposes. He hates them, but they're necessary. You seem to have a calming effect on him. I want you to spend 1 week helping him feel more comfortable in these situations." "And if I refuse?" Nia asked. "Then you leave this room and forget you ever met my family," Seungmin said. "But I should mention that I don't like loose ends. People who know too much about Junseo's vulnerabilities tend to have unfortunate accidents." The threat was clear. Nia's mouth went dry. She looked at Junseo again and found him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. There was hope in his eyes, but also guilt, as if he felt responsible for the situation she was in. "1 week," Nia said slowly, "and then I'm free to go? No strings attached?" "No strings attached," Seungmin agreed. "You'll stay in the guest house on my property. All expenses paid. You'll accompany Junseo to 3 events this week and help him navigate them. After that, we part ways." Nia knew she was making a deal with the devil, but she also knew she didn't have much choice. Besides, something about Junseo called to her protective instincts. He wasn't dangerous. He was just different, trying to survive in a world that didn't understand him. "Okay," she said. "I'll do it." Junseo's face broke into a genuine smile, transforming his features from handsome to absolutely beautiful. Nia's breath caught in her throat. She had no idea that agreeing to help him would change her entire life, or that one simple dance would lead to something neither of them could have predicted. The guest house was bigger than Nia's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a garden filled with cherry blossom trees, and the furniture looked like it belonged in a magazine. Nia set down her hastily packed bag and tried not to think about how much trouble she was in. She had called the hospital and taken a week of emergency leave, telling them a family situation had come up. Her supervisor hadn't been happy, but Nia had enough vacation days saved to cover it. A knock on the door made her jump. Junseo stood on the porch, holding a tray with tea and small pastries. He waited until she opened the door fully before speaking. "I thought you might be hungry," he said. "These are yakwa, Korean honey cookies. My mother used to make them before she left." Nia took the tray, touched by the gesture. "Thank you. Would you like to come in?" Junseo hesitated, then nodded. He entered the guest house slowly, taking in every detail. Nia noticed he didn't sit down until she gestured to a chair, and even then he perched on the edge as if ready to leave at any moment. "I'm sorry about my father," Junseo said after a long pause. "He means well, but he doesn't understand that I can make my own choices. He thinks everyone will hurt me or use me because of who he is." "Has that happened before?" Nia asked gently. "Yes." Junseo's jaw tightened. 3 years ago, I met a woman at an art gallery. She was kind to me, patient. We spent time together for 2 months. Then I found out she was a reporter, trying to get information about my father's business. She recorded our conversations and planned to publish everything. What happened to her? My father made sure the story never came out. I don't know what he did, and I don't want to know. Junseo looked down at his hands. After that, I stopped trying to meet people. It's easier to be alone. Nia felt a surge of sympathy. But you said yes when I asked you to dance. Why? Junseo met her eyes, and Nia saw something vulnerable in his gaze. Because you didn't know who I was. You looked at me and saw someone who needed kindness, not someone you could use. That's rare in my world. They spent the next hour talking. Nia learned that Junseo was 28 years old and had a degree in fine arts. He loved painting, especially landscapes and abstract pieces that let him express feelings he couldn't put into words. His autism made social situations exhausting, but he had learned to mask his discomfort around strangers. The effort left him drained for days afterward. "I'll be honest with you," Nia said. "I don't know much about autism beyond what I learned in nursing school, but I'm willing to learn. If something I do makes you uncomfortable, please tell me." "Most people don't ask," Junseo said quietly. "They just assume or get offended when I need space. Thank you for being different. Over the next 3 days, they fell into an easy routine. Jun Seo would visit the guest house in the mornings, and they would have breakfast together. He taught Nia basic Korean phrases, laughing softly when she mispronounced words. She told him stories about growing up in Kenya, about her large family, and the red dust roads of her childhood. In the afternoons, Jun Seo would paint in his studio while Nia read or explored the extensive gardens. The first event was a business dinner at an upscale restaurant. Nia wore a dress that Seungmin's assistant had delivered to her room. Elegant, but not too flashy. Jun Seo met her at the car, looking handsome in a navy suit. She noticed he wore noise-canceling earbuds, nearly invisible but clearly helping him cope with the ambient sound. "Remember," Nia said as they walked into the restaurant, "if you need a break, just tell me. We can step outside for fresh air." The dinner was tedious. Seungmin's business associates talked about shipping contracts and real estate deals that Nia suspected were covers for less legal activities. She focused on Jun Seo, making sure he had space when conversations got too intense and gently redirecting attention when someone asked him uncomfortable questions. By the end of the night, Jun Seo looked exhausted, but pleased. "You did wonderfully," Nia said in the car on the way home. "I'm proud of you." Jun Seo turned to her, and something sparked in his eyes. "No one has ever said that to me before." Their hands brushed on the seat between them. Neither pulled away. The fourth night changed everything. Nia woke to the sound of breaking glass. She bolted upright, her heart pounding. Heavy footsteps echoed through the guest house. She grabbed her phone, but before she could dial for help, her bedroom door burst open. A man in a black mask rushed at her. Nia screamed and rolled off the bed, but he was faster. His hand clamped over her mouth, cutting off her air. She struggled wildly, kicking and clawing. Her nursing training kicked in, and she aimed for his eyes, his throat, anywhere vulnerable. Then suddenly the man was gone, yanked backward by an unseen force. Nia gasped for air and saw Jun Seo fighting with her attacker. He moved with surprising skill, his fists connecting with the man's jaw. The attacker stumbled and ran, crashing through the front door and disappearing into the night. Jun Seo rushed to Nia's side. "Are you hurt? Did he touch you?" "I'm okay," Nia managed, though she was shaking. "How did you know?" "I couldn't sleep. I was painting in my studio and saw movement near the guest house." Jun Seo's hands hovered over her, wanting to comfort but unsure if touch would be welcome. "I'm so sorry. This is my fault. My father's enemies are trying to hurt him through you." Without thinking, Nia threw her arms around Jun Seo. He went rigid with surprise, then slowly relaxed, his arms coming up to hold her. They stayed like that for a long moment, Nia's face pressed against his chest, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear. "Stay with me tonight," Nia whispered. "Please, I don't want to be alone." Jun Seo pulled back to look at her. "Are you sure? I don't want to make you uncomfortable." "I trust you," Nia said, and realized she meant it completely. They went to Jun Seo's room in the main house. It was spacious and filled with his paintings, canvases leaning against every wall. Jun Seo gave Nia one of his shirts to sleep in, then carefully arranged pillows down the middle of his bed as a barrier. "This way we both have space," he explained, "but you won't be alone." Nia climbed into bed, her body still trembling from the adrenaline. Jun Seo lay on his side of the pillow barrier, his presence solid and reassuring. They talked in quiet voices about nothing and everything until Nia's eyes grew heavy. "Jun Seo?" she murmured, half asleep. "Yes? Thank you for saving me." "Thank you for not running away," he replied softly. "Most people would have left after tonight." As Nia drifted off, she felt Jun Seo's hand reach across the pillows to gently hold hers. It was the most natural thing in the world. She woke to find sunlight streaming through the windows and Jun Seo watching her with an expression she had never seen before. His eyes were warm, almost tender. The pillow barrier had disappeared during the night, and they had, somehow, moved closer together. "Good morning," Jun Seo said. "You talk in your sleep. Did you know that?" What did I say? Nia asked, suddenly nervous. You said my name. Junseo's thumb traced circles on the back of her hand, and you smiled. Something electric passed between them. Nia became intensely aware of how close they were, of the warmth radiating from Junseo's body. She should move away. She should remember this was temporary, that she had agreed to 1 week and nothing more. Instead, she found herself leaning closer. Junseo's eyes dropped to her lips. I've never kissed anyone before, he admitted. I always thought it would be overwhelming. Too much sensation, too much closeness. But right now, I really want to kiss you. Then kiss me, Nia whispered. He did. It was gentle and sweet, his lips soft against hers. Nia's hand came up to cup his face, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. Junseo made a small sound, almost a sigh, and deepened the kiss. It was perfect and terrifying and absolutely right. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Junseo rested his forehead against hers. I think I'm falling in love with you, he said. I know it's only been 4 days. I know that's impossible. But I can't stop thinking about you. You make everything quieter in my head. Nia's heart felt like it might burst. It's not impossible, she said, because I feel it too. They kissed again, longer this time, hands exploring cautiously. Junseo was careful with her, checking constantly to make sure she was comfortable. Nia had never felt so cherished, so seen. When things threatened to go further, Junseo pulled back, his breathing ragged. Not yet, he said. I want to, but not like this. Not when we both know you're supposed to leave in 3 days. I want more time with you, Nia. I want forever. Then we'll figure out how to make that happen, Nia promised. But fate had other plans. That afternoon, Seungmin summoned them both to his office. His expression was grim. There's been a development, he said without preamble. My sources tell me that Dong-wook, the leader of a rival organization, knows about Nia. He's planning something. I want you both to stay on the property until we figure out what. Junseo's hand tightened around Nia's. I won't let anyone hurt her. Neither will I, Seungmin said, and for the first time, Nia heard genuine warmth in his voice when he looked at his son. But you need to be careful, both of you. That night, Nia didn't return to the guest house. She stayed with Junseo, and they held each other close, knowing that the danger was far from over. The next morning, Nia woke wrapped in Junseo's arms. Sunlight painted golden stripes across his peaceful face, and she took a moment to simply watch him. His dark hair fell across his forehead, and his lips were slightly parted in sleep. She had never imagined feeling this way about someone, especially not someone she had known for less than a week. Yet, here she was, completely and utterly attached to this gentle man who had somehow worked his way into her heart. Junseo's eyes fluttered open and he smiled when he saw her. You're still here. Where else would I be? Nia asked softly. I thought maybe I had dreamed you, Junseo admitted. He reached up to touch her face, his fingers tracing the line of her cheekbone with reverence. You're so beautiful, inside and out. They kissed slowly, taking their time. Junseo's hands moved down her back, pulling her closer. The heat between them built steadily, and Nia felt herself responding to his touch in ways that made her breath catch. When Junseo's lips left hers to trail kisses along her jaw and down her neck, she gasped his name. Is this okay? He murmured against her skin. More than okay, Nia managed. They spent the morning learning each other, mapping new territory with gentle hands and whispered words. Junseo was careful and attentive, always checking to make sure Nia was comfortable. She discovered he was ticklish along his ribs and that he made the most wonderful sounds when she kissed the sensitive spot behind his ear. It was innocent and intense at the same time, a slow burn that left them both wanting more, but content to wait. Later, they walked through the gardens together. Junseo held Nia's hand, his thumb rubbing circles on her palm. He showed her his favorite spots, a hidden bench beneath a willow tree, a fountain where birds came to drink, a small greenhouse where he grew flowers for his paintings. "I've never shown anyone these places," Junseo said. "This garden is my sanctuary, but I want to share it with you." "I'm honored," Nia said sincerely. They sat on the bench, and Junseo pulled out a small sketchbook from his pocket. He began drawing, his pencil moving quickly across the paper. Nia watched in fascination as her own face appeared on the page, captured in quick, confident strokes. "You make me want to create," Junseo said. "Every time I look at you, I see art." Their conversation was interrupted by the appearance of Seungmin's assistant, a stern woman named Mrs. Park. Her expression was disapproving as she approached them. "Mr. Seungmin requests your presence immediately," she said, her tone clipped. "Both of you." They followed her to Seungmin's office, where they found him pacing like a caged tiger. His face was darker than Nia had ever seen it. "This stops now," Seungmin said without preamble. "Whatever is happening between you two ends today. Junseo, she's leaving tomorrow as planned. Our deal is complete." "No," Junseo said firmly. "I want her to stay." "You want," Seungmin repeated, his voice dangerous. "You're thinking with your heart instead of your head. This woman will leave just like your mother did. Everyone leaves eventually, Junseo. It's better to end it now before you get hurt." "You don't know that," Junseo argued. "Nia is different." "They're all different until they're not." Seungmin shot back. "I've seen this before. She'll stay for a while, maybe even convince herself she loves you. But eventually, the reality of our life will become too much. The danger, the secrets, the constant threat. She'll leave, and you'll be devastated." Nia stepped forward, anger rising in her chest. "You don't get to decide what I can or can't handle. Yes, your world is dangerous. Yes, it's scary. But I'm not running away. I care about Junseo, and I'm strong enough to deal with whatever comes." "Are you?" Seungmin challenged. "Are you strong enough to watch him suffer when you inevitably decide this life isn't for you? Because I'm not. I won't watch my son go through what I went through when his mother left." "Junseo isn't you," Nia said, "and I'm not his mother. Stop punishing him for her choices." The room fell silent. Seungmin stared at Nia with an expression she couldn't read. Finally, he turned to Junseo. "You have until tomorrow to say goodbye," he said coldly. "Then she leaves. That's final." After they left the office, Junseo was quiet. They returned to his room and he pulled Nia into his arms, holding her tightly. "I'm not giving up on us," he said fiercely. "I'll find a way, I promise." But that afternoon, everything fell apart. Nia had returned to the guest house to pack her things when her phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something compelled her to answer. "Hello?" "Nia Omondi," a male voice said in accented English. "We need to talk about Junseo." "Who is this?" Nia demanded. "My name is Dong-wook. I believe you've heard of me. I have a proposition for you. Meet me at the address I'm about to text you, or Junseo will pay the price for your refusal." The call ended. A moment later, a text arrived with an address across town. Nia's hands shook as she stared at the screen. She should tell Seungmin. She should tell Junseo. But the text included a photo of Junseo in the garden, clearly taken within the last hour. Whoever these people were, they were already inside the property. Nia made a decision that would change everything. She grabbed her purse and slipped out of the guest house through a side door. The property was large enough that she could reach the front gate without being seen if she was careful. Her heart pounded as she walked quickly through the gardens, every shadow making her jump. She managed to get off the property and hail a taxi. The driver gave her a strange look when she provided the address, a warehouse in a rundown part of Brooklyn, but he took her money and drove. Nia spent the entire ride trying to form a plan, but her mind kept returning to Junseo. She thought about his gentle hands and his sweet smile, the way he looked at her, like she was the most precious thing in the world. The warehouse was exactly as menacing as she expected. Dark, abandoned-looking, with broken windows and graffiti on the walls. Nia took a deep breath and walked inside, her phone clutched in her hand. Dong-wook was waiting in the center of the empty space. He was younger than she expected, maybe 40, with slicked-back hair and an expensive suit. Several armed men flanked him, their faces cold and expressionless. "Nia Omondi," Dong-wook said, smiling. "Thank you for coming. I was worried you might be foolish enough to tell Seung-min." "What do you want?" Nia asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "I want you to deliver a message to Seung-min. Tell him that his territory in Chinatown now belongs to me. If he resists, I'll kill everyone he loves, starting with his precious son." "I'm not your messenger," Nia said. Dong-wook's smile widened. "Oh, but you are. You see, I could have sent this message many ways, but I wanted Seung-min to know that I can reach anyone, anywhere, even the woman his son is falling in love with." Before Nia could react, one of the men grabbed her from behind. She struggled, but he was too strong. They bound her hands and pushed her into a chair. Dong-wook pulled out a phone and took several photos of her. "These will be sent to Seung-min in 1 hour," he said, "along with our demands. By then, you'll be long gone, and he'll understand that no one is safe." Nia's mind raced. She thought about everything Jun Seo had taught her, about being calm under pressure and finding solutions instead of panicking. Her eyes scanned the warehouse, looking for anything she could use. Then she remembered her phone, still in her pocket. If she could just reach it. "You're making a mistake," Nia said, trying to buy time. "Seung-min will destroy you for this." "Seung-min is old and sentimental," Dong-wook replied. "His love for his son makes him weak. That's why I'll win." Outside, Nia heard the sound of vehicles arriving. Dong-wook's expression changed from confident to confused. The warehouse doors burst open, and suddenly the space was filled with armed men. But these weren't Dong-wook's people. They wore dark suits and moved with military precision. At the center of them was Jun Seo. His face was a mask of cold fury, and in that moment, Nia saw his father in him. Jun Seo walked straight to Dong-wook, grabbed him by the collar, and slammed him against a wall. "You touched what's mine," Jun Seo said, his voice deadly calm. "You threatened her. Now you pay." What happened next was chaos. Dong-wook's men drew weapons, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. Seung-min's people moved like a well-oiled machine, disarming and subduing the enemy with brutal efficiency. Jun Seo fought his way to Nia, taking down anyone who got in his path. She had never seen him like this, fierce and protective, all traces of gentleness gone. He reached her and cut her bonds with a knife, pulling her into his arms. "Are you hurt?" "No," Nia gasped. "How did you find me?" "I tracked your phone," Jun Seo said. "The moment I realized you were gone, I knew something was wrong. I'm sorry I didn't get here sooner." A gunshot rang out. Jun Seo spun, pushing Nia behind him. One of 4 Dong-wook's men had gotten free and was aiming at them. Jun Seo moved without thinking, his body covering Nia's as the gun fired again. She felt him jerk, felt the warm splash of blood, and screamed his name. Jun Seo collapsed against her, his hand pressed to his side where red bloomed across his white shirt. The warehouse erupted in more gunfire as Seung-min's men eliminated the remaining threats. Nia pressed her hands over Jun Seo's wound, her nursing training kicking in even as terror threatened to overwhelm her. "Stay with me," she commanded. "Jun Seo, look at me. You're going to be okay." His eyes were glazed with pain, but he managed a weak smile. "I told you I wouldn't let anyone hurt you." Seung-min appeared, his face pale. "Get the car, now." They rushed Jun Seo out of the warehouse and into a black SUV. Nia climbed in with him, keeping pressure on the wound. Blood soaked through her fingers, but she refused to let go. She talked to him constantly, telling him to stay awake, to keep breathing, to hold on just a little longer. At a private clinic, doctors took over. Nia waited outside the operating room, her clothes stained with Jun Seo's blood, her hands shaking. Seung-min stood nearby, his expression unreadable. Finally he spoke. He loves you enough to die for you, Seung-min said quietly. I've never seen him like that before. So fierce, so determined. You bring out a strength in him I didn't know existed. He can't die, Nia whispered. Please, he can't die. He won't, Seung-min said with certainty. My son is stronger than anyone gives him credit for. But this proves my point, doesn't it? Loving you puts him in danger. Nia turned to face him, tears streaming down her face. Loving me also gave him a reason to fight, to be brave. You saw him today. He wasn't the anxious boy you try to protect. He was a man defending what matters to him. Don't take that away from him because you're afraid. Seung-min opened his mouth to respond, but the operating room doors opened. The doctor emerged, looking tired but satisfied. He'll be fine, the doctor announced. The bullet went through clean. No major organs hit. He'll need rest, but he should make a full recovery. Nia almost collapsed with relief. Seung-min caught her arm, steadying her. When she looked at him, she saw something like respect in his eyes. You can see him, the doctor said, but only for a few minutes. Nia rushed into the recovery room. Jun Seo lay on a hospital bed, his torso bandaged, but his eyes open. When he saw her, his face lit up despite the pain. Hey, he said weakly, told you I'd protect you. You idiot, Nia sobbed, taking his hand. You could have died. But I didn't, Jun Seo pointed out, and neither did you. That's all that matters. Nia leaned down and kissed him gently, careful not to hurt him. I love you, she whispered against his lips. I love you so much, it terrifies me. Good, Jun Seo said, smiling, because I love you too, and I'm never letting you go. Behind them, Seung-min watched through the window, his expression troubled. He'd promised himself he would keep Jun Seo safe, would protect him from a cruel world. But maybe, he thought as he watched his son hold Nia's hand like she was his lifeline, maybe safety wasn't what Jun Seo needed. Maybe he needed someone worth fighting for. The next morning, 2 police detectives arrived at the property with a warrant for Nia's arrest. Nia stared at the detectives in confusion. She had stayed at the clinic all night with Jun Seo, refusing to leave his side even when the nurses suggested she go home and rest. Now, standing in Seung-min's mansion with handcuffs being snapped around her wrists, she felt like she had fallen into a nightmare. What are the charges? Seung-min demanded, his voice like ice. The older detective, a gray-haired man with tired eyes, read from a document. Nia Omandi is being charged with theft and distribution of controlled substances from Metropolitan General Hospital. We have evidence that she used her position as a nurse to steal prescription medications and sell them on the black market. That's insane, Nia protested. I would never do that. We have your ID card logged into the pharmacy system at times when drugs went missing, the detective continued. We have testimony from a confidential informant, and we have bank records showing deposits to your account that you can't explain. Nia's mind reeled. None of this made sense. Yes, she sometimes picked up medications for her floor, but always with proper authorization. The deposits were from her family back home. Money she sent them, and they occasionally returned when they could spare it. This was all wrong. I need to see Jun Seo, Nia said desperately as they led her toward the door. Please, just let me say goodbye. Jun Seo appeared at the top of the stairs, leaning heavily on a crutch. His face was pale, and he clutched his injured side, but his eyes blazed with determination. Let her go. She didn't do anything. Son, you need to rest, one of the detectives said, not unkindly. This doesn't concern you. Everything about her concerns me, Jun Seo said. He tried to descend the stairs, but his legs gave out. Seung-min caught him before he could fall. Take her, Seung-min said quietly. But this isn't over. As they drove away, Nia looked back to see Jun Seo being helped inside by his father. Her heart broke into pieces. After everything they had been through, everything they had survived, she was going to lose him to false charges and a broken justice system. The police station was a blur of fingerprints and mug shots and cold metal chairs. They put her in a cell with 3 other women, all of whom eyed her with suspicion. Nia sat on the hard bench and tried to think. Someone had framed her. But who? And why? Then it hit her. Dongwook. Even though his operation had been dismantled, he must have planned this as a backup. If he couldn't use her to hurt Seungmin directly, he would destroy her life and break Jun Seo's heart in the process. It was brilliant and cruel. Days passed in a haze. Nia met with a public defender who looked overwhelmed and underprepared. The evidence against her was substantial, he explained. Her ID card, her bank records, testimony from her hospital supervisor, Dr. Chidi, claiming he had caught her stealing multiple times but hadn't reported it out of sympathy. If convicted, she could face 5 to 10 years in prison. "But I didn't do any of this," Nia insisted. "I believe you," the lawyer said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "But proving it will be difficult. The prosecution has a strong case." Meanwhile, Jun Seo was falling apart. Seungmin watched helplessly as his son stopped eating, stopped painting, stopped doing anything except stare out the window toward the city where Nia was being held. Jun Seo's wound was healing physically, but emotionally, he was deteriorating rapidly. "You have to fix this," Jun Seo told his father. "Use your connections. Do whatever it takes. I can't lose her." "I'm trying," Seungmin said, and for once his voice held genuine frustration. "But this is bigger than I thought. Someone has gone to great lengths to make this case airtight." "Then go to greater lengths to break it," Jun Seo said. "Please, father, I'm begging you. She's innocent and she's suffering because of me. Because she got involved with our family." Seungmin looked at his son, really looked at him, and saw the depth of his despair. He made a decision that would cost him dearly. "I'll take care of it," Seungmin promised. "But Jun Seo, what I'm about to do will change everything. Our family, our business, our entire way of life. Are you prepared for that?" "I don't care," Jun Seo said immediately. "I only care about her." Seungmin nodded slowly. He spent the next 3 days calling in every favor, threatening every contact, and piecing together the truth. What he discovered made his blood run cold. Dr. Chidi, Nia's supervisor at the hospital, had indeed been stealing drugs. But he wasn't working for Dongwook. He was working for a much larger pharmaceutical theft ring that operated across multiple states. When Dongwook's organization had been dismantled, the theft ring had panicked. They needed a scapegoat, and Nia, with her connection to Seungmin's family, was perfect. Dr. Chidi had used Nia's credentials to cover his tracks, creating a paper trail that led directly to her. Seungmin took this information to the one person he had sworn never to work with, the FBI. The meeting took place in a neutral location, a coffee shop in Queens. The federal agent, a sharp-eyed woman named Detective Torres, listened as Seungmin laid out everything he knew. In exchange for the information that would take down the pharmaceutical theft ring, Seungmin offered something unprecedented. He would provide testimony about other criminal organizations operating in New York, organizations that had nothing to do with his own business, but whose activities he had observed over the years. "Why would you do this?" Detective Torres asked suspiciously. "You're putting yourself at risk." "Because someone I love is in danger," Seungmin said simply, "and because my son loves her. That's reason enough." "Someone you love?" Torres repeated. "I thought we were talking about your son's girlfriend." "We're talking about both," Seungmin admitted. "Jun Seo loves Nia, and I love Jun Seo. If helping her means cooperating with you, then that's what I'll do." The investigation moved quickly once the FBI got involved. They raided Dr. Chidi's home and found evidence of his involvement in the theft ring. They tracked the bank deposits to Nia's account and discovered they came from Dr. Chidi himself, filtered through multiple shell companies to make them look legitimate. The confidential informant turned out to be another nurse who was also involved and trying to reduce her own sentence. In jail, Nia received a visit from an FBI agent who explained what had happened. She was being released immediately, all charges dropped. The agent apologized for the ordeal and assured her that Dr. Chidi would face justice. When Nia walked out of the detention center, Junseo was waiting. He leaned against a black car, his arm still in a sling, but his face transformed by relief. The moment he saw her, he pushed off the car and limped toward her, moving as fast as his healing body would allow. They crashed together in the middle of the sidewalk. Nia threw her arms around him, careful of his injury but unable to stop herself. Junseo buried his face in her hair, his shoulders shaking. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. "I thought you were gone forever." "I'm here," Nia said, tears streaming down her face. "I'm here and I'm not going anywhere." They kissed desperately, pouring weeks of fear and longing into the connection. People walking past smiled at the obvious reunion, unaware of the danger and darkness that had brought these two people to this moment. Seung-min stood beside the car, watching. When Junseo and Nia finally pulled apart, he stepped forward. "I owe you an apology," Seung-min said to Nia. "I underestimated you. I thought you would run at the first sign of trouble. But you stayed. Even in jail, facing years in prison, you didn't blame Junseo or our family. That takes strength." "I love him," Nia said simply. "That's all the strength I need." "Then welcome to the family," Seung-min said, and offered his hand. Nia shook it, surprised by the gesture. They returned to the mansion, where Mrs. Park had prepared a feast. Junseo and Nia sat close together during dinner, their hands intertwined beneath the table. Seung-min watched them with something that might have been contentment. That night, in Junseo's room, they finally allowed themselves to celebrate their reunion properly. They lay on his bed, facing each other, hands exploring with new reverence. "I was so scared," Junseo admitted. "Every day you were gone felt like dying slowly. I couldn't paint, couldn't eat. All I could think about was you in that cell, probably terrified and alone." "I thought about you, too," Nia said. "I thought about your smile and your gentle hands and the way you look at me like I'm the most important person in the world. It kept me going." They kissed slowly, deeply. Junseo's hands moved to her waist, pulling her closer. The heat between them built gradually, a slow burn that had been simmering since the day they met. When Junseo pulled back, his eyes were dark with desire. "I want you," he said quietly. "I've wanted you since the moment you asked me to dance. But I need you to know this isn't just physical for me. I want all of you, Nia. Your heart, your future, everything. You have it," Nia promised. "All of me. Forever." They made love slowly, carefully, learning each other's bodies with patience and tenderness. Junseo was gentle, always checking to make sure Nia was comfortable, that he wasn't moving too fast. Nia guided him, showing him what she liked, praising him when he did something that made her gasp. It was sweet and intense, a physical expression of the love that had been growing between them since that first dance. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweaty and satisfied, and completely content. Junseo traced patterns on Nia's shoulder, his expression peaceful in a way she had never seen before. "Marry me," he said suddenly. Nia propped herself up on one elbow, staring at him. "What?" "Marry me," Junseo repeated. "I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a few weeks, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life. You're my person, Nia, the one I want to wake up next to every morning, the one I want to paint for, create with, build a life with. So marry me." Nia's eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." They sealed the promise with another kiss, both of them smiling so wide it was hard to keep their lips together. Outside, dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. A new day, a new beginning. But their happiness was short-lived. The next morning, there was a knock on Junseo's door. Seung-min entered, his expression grave. "We need to talk," he said. "There's something about Junseo's past that you both need to know." Seung-min's office felt smaller than usual, the walls seeming to close in as he paced back and forth. Junseo and Nia sat on the leather couch, their hands clasped together, bracing for whatever revelation was coming. Seung-min had never looked so uncomfortable, his usual confidence replaced by something that looked almost like guilt. "What I'm about to tell you will change how you see everything," Seung-min began. "Junseo, you deserve to know the truth about your family. And Nia, you deserve to understand what you're truly committing to." "Father, whatever it is, just say it," Junseo said, his jaw tight. Seung-min stopped pacing and faced them directly. "Junseo, I'm not your biological father. Your real father was my younger brother, Seung-ho. He died 26 years ago, saving my life during a gang war. You were only 2 years old." The room went silent. Nia felt Junseo's hand tighten around hers so hard it almost hurt. His face had gone pale, his breathing shallow. "What?" Junseo finally managed. "Your mother, Mi-sun, was Seung-ho's wife," Seung-min continued, his voice heavy with old pain. "When he died, I promised him I would take care of both of you. I married Mi-sun to give you legitimacy, to protect you both under my name. But Mi-sun never loved me. She loved my brother until the day she left." "Why are you telling me this now?" Junseo asked, his voice barely audible. "Because you're about to get married," Seung-min said. "And you need to understand that the reason I've been so overprotective isn't just about your autism. It's about guilt. Seung-ho died because of me, because of my choices. Protecting you has been my way of honoring his sacrifice. But in doing so, I've kept you from living your own life." Junseo stood abruptly, swaying slightly. Nia rose with him, supporting him. "I need air," he said. They left Seung-min standing in his office and walked to the garden. Junseo's breathing was rapid, his hands shaking. Nia recognized the signs of an anxiety attack and gently guided him to sit on their favorite bench. "Breathe with me," she said softly. "In through your nose, out through your mouth. That's it. Focus on my voice." Slowly, Junseo's breathing returned to normal. He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his head in his hands. "My whole life is a lie." "No," Nia said firmly. "Your life is complicated, but it's not a lie. Seung-min raised you, he loves you. Biology doesn't change that." "But my father, my real father, died because of him," Junseo said bitterly. "And my mother left because she couldn't stand being trapped in a marriage without love. No wonder she ran away." "Your mother left because she was hurting," Nia said gently. "But that doesn't excuse her abandoning you. You were a child. You deserved better." Junseo looked at her, his eyes red-rimmed. "Do you still want to marry me? Now that you know how messed up my family is?" "Every family is messed up in their own way," Nia said. "Yes, I still want to marry you. Nothing has changed for me, Junseo. I love you, not your family history." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. They sat like that for a long time, finding comfort in each other's presence. But the revelations weren't over. That afternoon, while Junseo rested, Nia received an unexpected visitor. Ye-jin, Seung-min's sister, whom Nia had never met, arrived at the mansion requesting to speak with her privately. Ye-jin was elegant and sharp-eyed, with gray-streaked hair pulled into a neat bun. She reminded Nia of Seung-min, but with a warmth her brother lacked. They sat in the garden, and Ye-jin studied Nia with undisguised curiosity. "So you're the woman who captured my nephew's heart," Ye-jin said. "I wanted to meet you before the wedding, make sure you understand what you're getting into." "I think I have a pretty good idea," Nia said. "Do you?" Ye-jin challenged. "Do you know that Seung-min's decision to work with the FBI has made him a target? That other criminal organizations now see him as a traitor? Marrying Junseo means you'll always be looking over your shoulder, wondering when the next threat will emerge." "I know," Nia said calmly, "and I'm choosing this anyway." Ye-jin smiled, apparently satisfied. "Good. Junseo needs someone strong. He's always been sensitive, but that's not weakness. It's his greatest strength." She paused, then added, "There's something else you should know about your arrest." Nia tensed. "What about it?" "Dr. Chidi didn't act alone," Hyejin said. He had help from someone inside this very household, someone who wanted to drive a wedge between you and Jun Seo. Who? Nia demanded. Mrs. Park, Hyejin revealed. She's been with our family for 15 years. She loved Mi-soon like a daughter, and never forgave Seung-min for what she saw as forcing Mi-soon into a loveless marriage. When you came along and made Jun Seo happy, she saw history repeating itself. She fed information to Dr. Chidi about your work schedule, your financial situation, everything he needed to frame you convincingly. Nia's stomach churned. Mrs. Park had been kind to her, or so she thought. To learn that the older woman had betrayed her so completely was devastating. Seung-min discovered the truth yesterday, Hyejin continued. Mrs. Park has been dismissed and turned over to the authorities. But I thought you should know before you moved forward with the wedding. Trust will be difficult in this family, Nia. Everyone has secrets. Everyone has agendas. Then I'll just have to be more careful about who I trust, Nia said. That evening, the FBI contacted Seung-min with more news. The pharmaceutical theft ring had been fully dismantled, but Dr. Chidi had made a deal. In exchange for a reduced sentence, he provided evidence about other corruption within Metropolitan General Hospital. Several doctors and administrators were now under investigation. Your name has been completely cleared, the FBI agent told Nia over the phone. In fact, the hospital board wants to meet with you. They're offering you your job back with a promotion and a formal apology. Nia thanked the agent, but felt conflicted. Did she want to return to a place that had so quickly believed she was guilty? Where her colleagues had abandoned her without question? She discussed it with Jun Seo that night as they lay in bed together. He listened carefully, playing with her fingers as she talked through her feelings. Whatever you decide, I support you, Jun Seo said. If you want to go back to nursing, do it. If you want to try something new, do that instead. You don't have to decide right now. What if I wanted to work with families who have children with autism? Nia mused. Help them understand and support their kids better. Jun Seo's face lit up. That would be amazing. You'd be so good at that. They talked long into the night about their future, about the life they wanted to build together. Jun Seo wanted to open his own art gallery, a space where he could display not just his work, but also pieces from other artists who, like him, saw the world differently. Nia loved the idea and suggested they could combine their visions, creating a community center that offered both art programs and family support services. We could help so many people, Nia said excitedly, give them the resources and understanding they need. We could change lives, Jun Seo agreed, just like you changed mine. The wedding planning began in earnest. Nia wanted to honor both her Kenyan heritage and Jun Seo's Korean background, creating a celebration that reflected both cultures. Seung-min surprised everyone by throwing himself into the preparations, determined to give his son the wedding he deserved, but doubt still plagued Jun Seo. One night he confessed his fears to Nia. What if I'm not enough for you? He asked quietly. What if you wake up one day and realize you've sacrificed too much to be with me? Jun Seo, look at me, Nia said, cupping his face in her hands. You are more than enough. You are everything. Yes, your world is complicated and sometimes dangerous. But you know what? My world was empty before I met you. You filled it with color and joy and purpose. I'm not sacrificing anything. I'm gaining everything that matters. He kissed her then, deep and passionate, conveying without words how much her reassurance meant. Their lovemaking that night was intense and emotional, both of them clinging to each other as if trying to merge into one person. The week before the wedding, Nia received a letter. It was from her mother in Kenya, who had never been supportive of Nia moving to America. The letter was short but powerful. My daughter, it read, I was wrong to discourage your dreams. You have found love and purpose far from home, and I am proud of you. I wish I could be there to see you marry, but know that my heart is with you. Choose happiness, Nia. Choose love. That is all that matters in this life. Nia cried as she read it, then showed it to Jun Seo. He held her as she wept, understanding how much her mother's approval meant. She's right, Junseo said. We choose happiness. We choose love. Everything else is just noise. 2 days before the wedding, Seungmin called them both to his office again. This time, his expression was lighter, almost pleased. I have a wedding gift for you both, he said. I've purchased a building in Brooklyn. It's yours to do with as you wish. Turn it into your community center, your gallery, whatever you dream of. Consider it my blessing and my apology for all the pain I've caused. Junseo stood and embraced his father, perhaps for the first time in years. Thank you, he said simply. Make me proud, Seungmin said gruffly. Both of you. Build something beautiful. As they left the office, Nia felt a sense of peace settle over her. Yes, the road ahead would have challenges. Yes, there would be difficult days and lingering threats, but they would face it all together, and that made everything bearable. The night before the wedding, Junseo surprised Nia with a painting he had been working on in secret. It showed the two of them dancing at the charity gala, surrounded by shadows but illuminated by their own inner light. The detail was breathtaking, every brushstroke filled with love. This is how I see us, Junseo explained. The world around us might be dark and complicated, but together we create our own light. That's all we need. Nia kissed him softly. It's perfect. You're perfect. No, Junseo corrected with a smile. We're perfect together. There's a difference. They spent their last night as an unmarried couple, talking about everything and nothing, excited for tomorrow and all the tomorrows that would follow. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and bright, the sky a brilliant blue that seemed to promise good things. Nia woke in the guest house, tradition dictating that she and Junseo spend their last night apart. She stretched luxuriously, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement flutter in her stomach. Blessing and 2 other friends from the hospital arrived early to help her prepare. They had stayed loyal throughout her ordeal, never doubting her innocence, and Nia was grateful to have them by her side today. The dress she had chosen was a beautiful fusion of styles, with the flowing white silk of a traditional Western gown, combined with intricate beading inspired by Kenyan designs. When she put it on, she felt like a queen. You look absolutely stunning, Blessing said, her eyes misty. Junseo is going to lose his mind when he sees you. Across the property, Junseo was having his own preparations. Seungmin helped him with his tie, a quiet moment between father and son that carried the weight of their complicated history and hopeful future. Are you nervous? Seungmin asked. Terrified, Junseo admitted. What if I mess this up? What if I say the wrong thing or freeze up in front of everyone? You won't, Seungmin said with certainty. When you look at Nia, everything else will disappear. Trust me. The ceremony took place in the garden that Junseo loved so much. White chairs were arranged in neat rows, and flowers from both Korea and Kenya decorated every surface. The guest list was small, just close family and friends who had proven their loyalty. Hyejin sat in the front row, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. When the music started, Junseo took his place at the altar. He looked handsome in his tailored suit, his hair perfectly styled, but his hands trembled, slightly, and Nia could see the anxiety in his eyes even from a distance. Then she appeared, walking down the aisle on Seungmin's arm. Junseo's breath caught. Seungmin had offered to give her away since her own father couldn't be there, and Nia had accepted gratefully. As they walked, she smiled at Junseo, pouring all her love into that one expression. The moment Junseo saw her smile, his anxiety melted away. His hands steadied, his shoulders relaxed, and his face broke into a grin so wide and genuine that several guests laughed softly. This was what love looked like, pure and uncomplicated. Seungmin placed Nia's hand in Junseo's, then stepped back. Take care of each other, he said quietly. The officiant, a kind older man who had known Seungmin's family for years, began the ceremony. He spoke about love transcending boundaries, about 2 people from different worlds creating something new and beautiful together. Junseo and Nia had written their own vows, and when it came time to speak them, Junseo went first. Nia, he began, his voice clear and strong, before I met you, I thought I understood what my life would be. Quiet, controlled, safe. Then you asked me to dance, and everything changed. You saw me, really saw me. Not as someone broken or different, but as someone worthy of love. You gave me courage I didn't know I had. You made me want to be brave, to fight for what matters, to live fully instead of just existing. I promised to spend every day proving that your faith in me was not misplaced. I promised to be your partner, your protector, your best friend. I promised to love you with everything I am, for all the days of my life. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. Nia blinked back tears as she began her own vows. Junseo, you are the kindest, most genuine person I have ever met. You taught me that love doesn't have to be complicated or dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as holding hands in a garden, or painting together in comfortable silence, or making each other laugh when the world feels heavy. You make me better. You make me brave. I promise to stand beside you through every challenge, to celebrate every victory, to hold you when anxiety threatens to overwhelm you, and to remind you daily how extraordinary you are. I promise to build a life with you, filled with art and purpose and joy. I promise to love you exactly as you are, forever. They exchanged rings, simple bands that symbolized their commitment. When the officiant pronounced them married, Junseo didn't wait for permission. He pulled Nia into his arms and kissed her deeply, passionately, pouring months of fear and hope and love into that one perfect moment. Their guests erupted into applause and cheers. The reception was a beautiful blend of Korean and Kenyan traditions. They shared a traditional Korean pibek ceremony with Seung-min and Hye-jin, bowing respectfully and receiving blessings and red envelopes. Then they performed a simplified version of a Kenyan Kikuyu wedding dance, with Blessing and her friends helping to teach the steps to guests who gamely tried to follow along. During dinner, Seung-min stood to give a toast. His voice was thick with emotion. I have made many mistakes in my life, he said, but the one thing I got right was protecting Junseo, even if I went about it the wrong way sometimes. Today, I'm not losing a son. I'm gaining a daughter who has proven herself stronger and braver than I ever gave her credit for. Nia, thank you for loving him. Junseo, thank you for teaching me that real strength isn't about control or fear. It's about opening your heart despite the risks. To the bride and groom. To the bride and groom, everyone echoed, raising their glasses. Junseo and Nia shared their first dance as husband and wife. The song was soft and romantic, and as they swayed together, Junseo whispered in Nia's ear, "This is better than our first dance." "How so?" Nia asked, smiling. "Because now everyone knows you're mine," Junseo said with a possessive edge that made Nia shiver pleasantly. "And I'm yours, forever." They danced until their feet hurt, celebrated with friends until the stars came out, and finally escaped to Junseo's room, which had been transformed for their wedding night. Rose petals covered the bed, candles flickered softly, and champagne chilled in a bucket. But they barely noticed the romantic setting. They were too focused on each other, on finally being alone after a day of sharing themselves with others. They made love slowly, tenderly, taking their time to savor every touch and kiss. It was different from before, weighted with the knowledge that this was forever, that they had made promises they intended to keep. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweaty and satisfied, and completely content. Junseo played with Nia's wedding ring, spinning it gently on her finger. "I have something to tell you," Nia said softly. "I was going to wait, but I can't keep it in any longer." Junseo propped himself up on one elbow, looking at her with curiosity and a hint of concern. "What is it?" "I'm pregnant," Nia said, watching his face carefully. "I found out 2 days ago. We're going to have a baby." Junseo's expression went through several changes in rapid succession. Shock, disbelief, fear, and finally pure, unfiltered joy. His eyes filled with tears. "Really?" he asked, his voice breaking. "We're having a baby?" "Really," Nia confirmed, crying and laughing at the same time. Junseo placed his hand gently on her still, flat stomach, his touch reverent. "I'm going to be a father. We're going to be parents." Then his expression shifted to worry. "What if I'm not good at it? What if I pass on my autism and the baby struggles?" "Then we'll help them, just like we help each other," Nia said firmly. "And Junseo, there's nothing wrong with you. If our baby is like you, they'll be smart and creative and kind. That's not something to fear." "I love you so much," Junseo said, kissing her deeply. "Thank you for this gift. Thank you for everything." They held each other close, talking quietly about their future. They discussed names and nursery colors and what kind of parents they wanted to be. Junseo was determined that their child would never feel different or broken, that they would grow up knowing they were loved exactly as they were. The months that followed were busy but joyful. Junseo and Nia threw themselves into creating their community center. They worked with architects and designers to transform Seungmin's gift into a beautiful space with an art gallery, therapy rooms, and a community hall. Junseo curated the first exhibition, featuring works from neurodivergent artists who rarely got opportunities to showcase their talents. Nia developed programs for families, offering support groups, educational workshops, and resources for parents navigating diagnoses and treatments. The response was overwhelming. Within weeks of opening, they had a waiting list of families desperate for help. Seungmin kept his promise to work with authorities, providing information that helped dismantle several criminal organizations. In return, he was granted immunity and allowed to transition his legitimate businesses into a normal corporate structure. It wasn't easy, and there were still threats from former associates who felt betrayed. But Seungmin handled each challenge with the same cold efficiency that had made him feared for so many years. As Nia's pregnancy progressed, Junseo became almost comically protective. He fussed over her constantly, making sure she rested enough and ate healthy foods. Nia found it endearing, even when his anxiety about the baby's health made him worry excessively. "The doctor said everything is fine," Nia reminded him gently after one particularly anxious episode. "The baby is healthy and growing perfectly." "I know," Junseo said, placing his hand on her swollen belly. "I just want everything to be perfect for our little one." Their son was born on a spring morning, arriving 2 weeks early but healthy and strong. Junseo cried when he held him for the first time, overcome with love and wonder. They named him Seung-ho, after Junseo's biological father, a gesture that made Seungmin break down in tears. "He has your eyes," Nia said softly, watching Junseo cradle their son with infinite gentleness. "And your smile," Junseo replied. "He's perfect." Seungmin proved to be a doting grandfather, surprising everyone with how naturally he took to the role. He would spend hours with baby Seung-ho, talking to him in Korean and showing him picture books. The sight of the once feared Mafia boss cooing at a baby was something Nia never thought she would see, but it filled her heart with happiness. 6 months after the baby was born, the community center held its grand anniversary celebration. The space was packed with families they had helped, artists whose work graced the gallery walls, and supporters who believed in their mission. Junseo gave a speech, his voice steady and confident. "A year ago, I was afraid of the world," he said. "I let my differences define me, let them hold me back from living fully. Then I met someone who saw past all that, who loved me not despite my autism, but including it. My wife Nia taught me that being different isn't a weakness, it's just another way of experiencing the world. This center exists because we believe everyone deserves to be seen, to be understood, to be celebrated for who they are. Thank you all for being part of this journey." The applause was thunderous. Nia stood beside Junseo, baby Seung-ho in her arms, and felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had built something meaningful, something that would outlast them and help countless people. That evening, after the celebration ended and the guests had gone home, Jun Seo and Nia stood in the garden where they had been married. The cherry blossoms were in full bloom, petals drifting down like snow. Baby Seung-ho slept peacefully in his stroller. "Do you remember the night we met?" Jun Seo asked, wrapping his arms around Nia from behind. "Of course," Nia said, leaning back against him. "You looked so lost in that crowded ballroom. I just wanted to help." "You did more than help," Jun Seo said. "You saved me. You gave me a life I never thought I could have." "We saved each other," Nia corrected. She turned in his arms to face him. "You showed me what real love looks like. Patient, kind, genuine, not the fairy tale version, but the real, messy, beautiful version where two people choose each other every single day." They kissed softly, the moment made more perfect by their son's quiet breathing and the gentle rustle of cherry blossoms. This was their forever, built on a foundation of trust and understanding and unwavering commitment. It wasn't always easy, but it was always worth it. "I love you," Jun Seo whispered. "Today, tomorrow, always." "Always," Nia agreed. And as they walked back to the house together, their family complete and their future bright, they knew that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask someone to dance, because you never know where that one moment of courage might lead. Years later, they would look back on this day and remember not the challenges they faced or the dangers they overcame, but the simple joy of choosing love over fear. They would teach their son the same lesson, that being different is a gift, that love is worth fighting for, and that sometimes the most extraordinary stories begin with the simplest of requests, one dance. That's all it took to change two lives forever. Thank you so much for watching their love story unfold. If you enjoyed this journey from a dangerous first meeting to a beautiful forever, please subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming romance stories. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. We love connecting with viewers from around the world. And don't forget to hit that like button if Jun Seo and Nia's story touched your heart. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more incredible love stories. Until next time, keep believing in the power of love.